New Ranger, finally here. So perhaps we should talk about the 10-speed transmission and whether or not that's an especially good idea. I'm John Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au and I get new cars cheap. Australia only, obviously. And if you're interested, website and card. So anyway, I got this question here from Brian Leonard, and I guess a lot of people are in this position because there's endless opportunity to do research online, and comments and things of that nature, all biased heavily to the negative in relation to Ranger and everything else. So let's have a listen to Brian. He says, I've recently had a test drive of the next-gen Ford Ranger V6 and was very impressed. Yeah, I get that. It's probably going to be going okay. I'd suggest it certainly makes a shitload of power. It's very quiet, drove well, had good power. I would be happy to buy a new Everest when they come out next year. Okay. I've researched the 10-speed 10R80 transmission that was introduced in 2018 by Ford and used in the F-150 in America. From YouTube reviews, they have had more than their share of ongoing faults since 2018 and a class action by many Ford owners. Do you have any information or statistics on reliability from the Australian Ranger bi-turbo 10 speeds? That's an excellent question. And just to digress momentarily, like, dude, I've always wanted to love Ranger. I really have. And I do kind of love it. I love the previous generation of Ranger that was only just superseded. And the reason I don't recommend it is Ford. Because not only is Ford a bit shit at the final hair and makeup of R&D, which leads to a string of reliability catastrophes in that 80 to 150,000 kilometre sort of ownership ballpark, but they are also spectacularly shit at customer service. I mean, look at the way they went on with the so-called power shit transmission, the 7-speed dry clutch, dual clutch transmission. They gave owners such incredible grief, and ever since the friggin' Pinto, that mob have rolled like this. Like, I know from an unimpeachable source in respect of that power shit DCT transmission that they could have really cut the number of faults by a substantial margin simply by retrofitting a ventilation fan in the clutch space of that transmission, just to suck a bit of heat out when it got hot, like thermostatically controlled exhaust fan, not dissimilar to the kind of fan that takes the steam, like the vapour, out of your bathroom when you have a nice hot shower on a cold winter's morning, right? And this was only going to cost like a couple of bucks. And just decided not to do it, let the owners endure all of that grief and just make them fight a really hard fight. And the cars, such that they still exist out there on the road right now, they're still shit boxes. So that's kind of how Ford rolls. They don't do their R&D very well, and then when something screws up, they just fuck people over, which is completely unacceptable. It's unacceptable if you're going to buy that friggin' drill chuck. It's certainly, pathologically unacceptable when you're talking about a vehicle that might cost you $60,000 or $70,000. So there's that. Okay, now, I know that transmission has a bit of a reputation for being hunting a bit when you're doing heavy towing, so there's that, if that's in the wings for you. And there was a recall on the 3rd of June 2020 for Ranger and Everest, and this was for vehicles built in about 2017. The quote there, this is in Australia, okay, the quote there was, transmission fluid pump gear failure can cause a loss of hydraulic fluid pressure in the transmission, which can result in a loss of motive power. That's not much fun on the road to Dingo Piss Creek, is it? This could increase the risk of an accident. They're not friggin' accidents. Accidents are events without apparent causes. These things are crashes, right? They're caused by something. So if a pump fails and you crash, that's not an accident, you assholes. And increase the risk of accident and injury to a vehicle occupant or other road users in the event of a serious accident. This may result in death. I love the way they write. May result in death, okay? So probably doesn't get much more serious than may result in death, does it? So this is like transmission has a heart failure. Motive power comes to a complete stop. You might do that in the middle of a freeway where everyone's sort of asleep at the wheel and wake up dead talking to St. Peter about what a bastard you've been over your life. And there's the stairs going down, dude. Nobody wants that. Okay, in the US, this is from a bunch of lawyers in California. They've got 3 offices in California. They specialise in this kind of thing. It's quite a long quote, but I'll give it to you anyway, just so you can contextualise this. The interesting thing, of course, about America is that they have more than 10 times the population of Australia, and therefore there are more dudes out there running these mad experiments with these transmissions, particularly these transmissions from the American Big Three, okay? It's just a much bigger pool of those transmissions out there operating, and let's see what the lawyers say about that. They go, the Ford F-150 is the subject of 3 class action lawsuits affecting the 2017 to 2020 model years of the vehicle. They allege that Ford Motor Company was well aware of safety concerns with the new generation 10-speed transmission, yet continued to ship and sell these vehicles while failing to implement a complete recall. Plaintiffs say that the F-150 transmission can cause, quote, life-threatening issues from, quote, harsh shifting, jerking, hesitation and slipped gears. Plaintiff Robert Marino claims that the 10R80 10-speed automatic transmission in his newly leased Ford F-150 XLT made loud noises and exhibited power loss while shifting just 2 months after he acquired the car. In Pennsylvania, a plaintiff says that after 6,000 miles, which is about 10,000 Ks, so pretty much still a baby, his F-150 Supercab was making clunking noises from the 10-speed transmission. He claims that he was told by the dealership that the gear slipping and jerking was, quote, normal for cars with 10R80 transmissions. I'm pretty sure that wasn't in the fucking brochure. Anyway, Ford models featuring this new generation transmission include, this is in America, 2017 to 2021 F-150 and 2017 to 2021 F-150 Raptor. Ford has issued 2 technical service bulletins. Both bulletins confirm that the 10-speed transmission can produce delayed or harsh shifts. Ford claims that this is the result of, quote, adaptive transmission shift strategy, which is intended for the car's computer to learn the transmission's parameters and improved shift quality. When it's reset, the computer begins a relearning process, which they claim can affect shifts for days. The TSBs told technicians to reprogram the powertrain control modules. The suits, that is the lawsuits, say, however, that Ford's adaptive transmission shift strategy does nothing to fix the automatic transmission shifting issues in the F-150. In many cases, owners still had issues following these repairs. Okay, so that's an example, I think, of Ford just doing what Ford does best, which is rolling out some half-cooked transmission, which could potentially be okay if it was just finessed properly by proper engineers who, you know, were capable of doing that kind of thing. And then if problems did exist, wouldn't it be nice if they just got on it and fixed them? Because this is not the mission to Mars. We're not in uncharted territory. This is a friggin' automatic transmission. It's a conventional epicyclic automatic transmission. How hard can it possibly be to fix? All right. So this is my problem with everything Ford, and in particular this wave of enthusiasm, this tsunami of friggin' enthusiasm about the Ranger, because people are jumping in real early, and that's an example of Ford engineering at its typical best. All right. I would be waiting if I was you. I'd be waiting for bloody donkey's months. If such a thing exists, I don't know what kind of calendar donkeys actually use, but I'd be waiting for a long time and let the new Ranger be in service and just see what kind of excrement floats to the top before I was going to spend 70 grand of my own money jumping in and just running the mad experiment for everyone else. There's already a bunch of dudes jumping in with New Ranger running the mad reliability experiment. There is absolutely no imperative for you to jump in and be a lab rat as well.